self-confident the producers were that we were not going to give away $1 million. We didn't even rehearse the bit that's coming up right now that I'm going to do. So I'm going to kind of wing it.
If you're a fan of this series, I've got some bad news for you. There won't be any new episodes for the foreseeable future. Depending on how you count, I'm capping this at either 8 episodes or 9 episodes, or maybe 10 if you count this video. Now don't worry, I've still got some game show ideas in the works, including some standalone projects and a new series, but before completely wrapping this one up, I want to take a quick look at some of the shows that I considered reviewing for this series, and some of your requests in the comments, but ones I ultimately decided not to include. At least for now. I could always call an audible and pick this back up one day. But for now, let's leave it here and go through the episodes of Almost Impossible that almost happened. Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader was by far the top request I got in my comment section. And I understand why. It was a popular show that handed out its $1 million prize a couple of times, and it's one that became a huge part of American pop culture for several years. Not to mention, gotten several revivals over the years. The problem with this show when it came to making an episode of this series was my pure arrogance. That's literally it. I'm being honest here. I could not find a good enough angle on why this top prize was almost impossible other than America's collective IQ is lower than the average 5th grade education.
I am Ken Jennings. I may have seemed pretty smart on Jeopardy, but apparently I am not smarter than a 5th grader.
Seriously, when I've played the home versions of these games, 5th grader is by far the easiest $1 million prize for me to win. And when playing along while actually watching the show, it's the one where I find myself screaming at the TV most often. I knew the answer to both Kathy Cox and George Smoot's $1 million questions. And I knew the answer to the social studies $1 million question that Ken Jennings of all people passed up. The only other angle I could come up with was the fact that contestants had to decide to go for the $1 million only knowing the subject rather than getting to see the question first. But even then, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I was going to struggle mightily to make an honest attempt at a high-quality video for this one. That's not to say such a video doesn't exist, though. So if any of you in the comments want to take a shot at it if you think you can find that angle, by all means, feel free to do so. I'm just saying I couldn't find that angle myself. I caught a couple of episodes of Lucky 13 and briefly thought there might be enough here to make an episode of this series. But the show didn't last very long, and the answer can basically be summed up in the fact that the contestant has to not only know the answer to every question, but know that they know the answer to every question. Getting 13 true or false questions right is hardly an impossible feat, especially given that every question a contestant might not know is still a 50-50 coin flip. Being confident enough to know that all their answers are correct to the point where they're willing to risk that much money is a tall order. In the end, only one contestant ever actually made 13 their lucky number, and only ended up with 11 right answers. If you want more, Kofi did a video on the show earlier this year that basically covered everything, so trying to put my own unique spin on it probably would have felt redundant regardless. Had $1 Million Password gotten a longer run, I definitely would have included it as part of this series. But the show only lasted 12 episodes, despite having an A-list host in Regis Philbin, and pulling in what would have been fantastic ratings by today's standards, but in the late 2000s were apparently only good enough for 2 seasons of 6 episodes each. 5 out of 5 at the $1 million level is hard enough, especially when the vocabulary is that obscure. If the home game is anything to go by, even if the show had lasted for a good 100 or so episodes, I've got a feeling we would have waited quite a while for a $1 million winner here. Power of 10 is another show that I think really deserved better than what it got. It aired on CBS in the fall of 2007, right as Drew Carey was taking over on the daytime CBS show The Price is Right. And they actually awarded their $1 million prize to their very first contestant, Jamie Sadler. But like Greed, $1 million was not this show's top prize. Try 10 times that. $10 million. To win this prize, Jamie would have had to guess the exact percentage of a survey-based question down to the exact amount, which basically means a 1 in 11 blind guess. This isn't a trivial fact that even the smartest of Jeopardy super champions is liable to know here. So risking $900,000 for a shot at an extra $9 million probably isn't worth it, especially for a college student like Jamie. I must say though, It is funny that Drew Carey said this.
If you lose, you're out $1 million, but you still have that $100,000 and your college is paid for it.
Your college is paid for with $100,000 pre-tax. Man, times have changed. So again, the answer to this one is simple. I just didn't think there was enough for a standalone video here. You might be surprised that Family Feud is on this list given its lack of $1 million prize. But I did have an idea for why winning $100,000 on Family Feud is almost impossible. That is something they advertise after all. Of course, that not only requires a family to win 5 games in a row, it also requires them to win fast money 5 times in a row. And I'm admittedly more of a casual viewer of the Feud these days, but I feel like seeing families with a $40,000 total is rare enough, let alone $60,000 or $80,000 or $100,000. Maybe it's happened and I'm just unaware. But the main reason this episode of this series never happened is because I'm not aware of any statistical database like the J Archive that exists for Family Feud. If there is one, please let me know in the comments. But without access to statistics like that, trying to calculate the odds of winning fast money 5 days in a row didn't feel like something I could do within my capabilities and resources. All I'll say here is it's not like the Dawson or Combs era where you sometimes had answers worth 60 or 70 points in fast money, or you occasionally saw contestants get to 200 by themselves. Nowadays, even if you give all 5 number 1 answers, you're still leaving your partner with at least 3 or 4 points to pick up when they go second. Now we get to press your luck, and yes, this one really almost happened. And it might still happen, if it ever actually does happen on the show. We've seen a couple of contestants get up over $400,000 in the Big Bucks Bonanza, including one that suffered what's easily the most painful whammy in show history. But 6 seasons in, we're still waiting for that $1 million prize to be awarded. I don't want to give too much of what this episode would be away, because I'm still holding out hope that we get a 7th season and somebody eventually somehow, someway, finds a way to win the top prize. Again, to answer the question at its most basic level, even if the contestant avoids the whammy for the entire bonus, a lot of additional luck needs to be on their side in order to hit the squares on the big board that award enough value to get to $500,000 total. The sentimental value of personalized prizes probably doesn't help either, as contestants have emotional attachments to those, and are therefore probably less willing to let those ride on every spin they have to take in each round of the bonus game. All that to say, there's a reason why we're 6 seasons in, and it's never happened. I do really hope this show comes back. It's one of the best in the current era of revivals, and Elizabeth Banks is a really good host. So there you have it. A handful of shows that I considered for this series, but ultimately decided against making the video for one reason or another. I've got some other projects I want to tackle first as we kick off 2026. So stay tuned for all of those. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good one.